Oh, hello.
Are you whispering?
I do feel... I feel a little self-conscious, it's true. It's a little bit dark. Oh, yes, of course, because...
It's bedtime where I am.
Hey, I'm in the future.
You are. You're tomorrow. You're the man from tomorrow.
I am 1.21 gigawatts.
You must be exhausted.
I'm just drinking a Feijoa Frenzy because Feijoa is a New Zealand thing.
Is it? Good. I'm glad you're keeping it real. You've only just arrived and you're already literally drinking the Kool-Aid.
The Kool-Aid has just been delivered to my door.
Did you get a pear?
I got a couple of mandarins.
They look edible.
And I got some pancakes with bananas and blueberries and maple syrup.
Wow.
That came in a compostable package.
Nice.
I'm going to be having a lot of plastic cutlery in plastic. We probably need to back up a little bit, don't we?
Yeah, Simon's in New Zealand.
To tell the truth, it is indeed, I'm in New Zealand, but actually I'm in a hotel room in Auckland in New Zealand, and I'll be in this room for 2 weeks.
14 days of enforced solitude.
Yep.
Wow. This is a podcast in which two friends have serious conversations about silly things and silly conversations about serious things.
I'm Simon Ellis.
And I'm Lee Miller.
Welcome to Midlifing. So on Thursday morning in the UK, meaning 3:30, I got an email saying that I'd been allocated a spot in MIQ, which for avid listeners, they'll know that MIQ stands for Managed Isolation and Quarantine. And this is you're given a voucher, which means it basically means you're able to enter New Zealand. You can't enter New Zealand at the moment without one of these vouchers. So that was 3:30 in the morning on Thursday. I booked a flight then, and then flew out of the UK in the morning on the Friday. So whatever that is in October. What is that, the 1st of October? Yeah.
Yeah, so how many hours between getting the voucher and getting on the plane did you have?
I had 27 hours.
Wow. Okay, that's not long.
It's not. Actually, it's not that long. I had to get a PCR test. But so London Heathrow was quiet, but not crazy quiet. That's the first time I've been in an airport since March 2020. So you've had a little bit of experience of airports.
Yeah, and they have been opening up and getting busier and busier over over recent months. And I was picking Bob up from Manchester Airport, and it was maybe not at full capacity, but it felt like 75%.
You'd almost say like a quiet day.
Yeah, like a quiet
off
day.
Season.
Yeah, exactly.
Or something like that. Exactly. And London Heathrow is, if not is one of the normally busiest airports in the world. Like, it's a massive airport.
Yeah.
And so it was definitely quiet. But more or less, I would say you wouldn't know there was a pandemic happening except for the quietness.
Yeah.
Yes, masks, but everyone was pretty lackadaisical about masks. It was like when I got to Singapore, so Singapore was my stopover, Singapore was like entering the Twilight Zone. Everything covered in plastic. Everything was, you were basically led around like a group of school children. Everyone was kind of in full HazCam clothing. It was the most surreal. Of course, this is at the end of a 13-hour flight, so it's always a little bit surreal.
Yeah.
But then it was like going, oh my God, I've just left the Wild West. Like anything was happening in London Heathrow.
Yeah.
And I've now entered a place which is, let's say, taking the pandemic seriously.
Mm-hmm.
So then you skip over from Singapore to New Zealand, which is about an 8 or 9 hour flight. 8 hours, I think. I can't remember, 9 hours. So we arrived late, maybe just before midnight. And Oh, it's... I really don't know where to begin. But it's like you're an alien. It's exactly like those scenes in Not an Alien. I was thinking a different movie, the one with the girl, the alien on the bicycle. No, the kid on the bicycle.
E.T.?
E.T. It was like a little bit like the moment at E.T. when they eventually find E.T. You know, the authorities and they all cover everything, and not quite like that, but that was the feeling. Everyone on the plane is in a bubble, effectively. Mm-hmm. And these people are people who've been from everywhere, because we've met in Singapore, effectively. So not just people from the UK, but Singapore was the exit, if you like.
Yeah.
We get onto this bus and get met, and it's New Zealand military are organising the, I think Navy, actually. They're the people in charge of the entire process in the facility, it's called, not the hotel. And this very, very military-style human being, man, who hilarious, but also just as gruff and as plain-speaking. If you just, that feeling of someone talking with you, I am not going to cross this person.
Yeah.
Very strict, very, very strict. All the rules were. And here I am, in my one bedroom.
Wow.
I don't know what else to tell you about it, but it's... I mean, this is a country, 27 people have died in this country. At the moment, they have an outbreak of the Delta variant, and I think there's something like 220-something community cases.
In the country?
In the country.
Wow.
And they're still getting some new cases each day. When I say some, between 20, 30, but they're almost all, I can't remember, I haven't looked lately, almost all connected to the ones that already exist, meaning they would expect people in those bubbles to get the virus because they're someone living with someone who already has it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, like I say, England, it's mind-boggling. Yeah, Wild West.
Okay, so you've gone from literally one side of the planet to the other, and you're experiencing, diametrically opposed behaviours. What feels better in your body? What feels more realistic or manageable or appropriate?
Oh, that is such an interesting question, because, I mean, for one thing, flying to the other, hemisphere is incredibly hard on your body, for one thing. Under normal circumstances. Mm-hmm. So my body is all over the place. I mean, I've had very little sleep, but also your temperature when you need to shit gets everything's out of whack.
Yeah.
And it takes a long time. They say a day for every hour time difference for your body to settle.
Wow. So you're looking at the entire time you're in quarantine will actually be you recalibrating.
Yeah. Much more like if you were sailing to a place, you wouldn't experience jet lag. So
yeah.
I'm getting over jet lag when normally I'd have all that time seeing people while getting over jet lag, or working while getting over jet lag. But your question is an important one, and this feels so over the top. It feels so over the top because of what I've been accustomed to, or what I became accustomed to in the UK. I'm not saying it is. It feels so. It's just the difference is so extraordinary.
Yeah, So I had my first panic attack today. And I mean...
I'm laughing because you told me last night, you messaged me.
So
I don't think I would... It's also, I'm laughing at your laughing, but I just like that's... well, you've done that, and I had my, this lovely tennis match. Tell me.
Well, it's COVID-19 related. It's lockdown related. It is so. So when I say panic attack, I mean fully lack of control over my body, complete borderline shutdown. I managed to not pass out, which was great. I managed to not vomit. I was really proud of myself for that. So
Were you at home? Were you at home, Lee?
No, and that's where the panic attack starts. So, so what happened was we were invited very kindly by our lovely next door neighbours, not the ones we've spoken about before, but on the other side, to so there's a couple with two young kids, and it was I'm not going to use names because I don't really know them well enough to name drop them, so I'm just going to be weirdly anonymous for a second and say she had her 40th birthday, and there was a surprise birthday party being thrown for her. They are just youngsters. So the husband of the couple invited us a couple of weeks ago to this surprise birthday party, and it was at a farm, So I was like, oh, okay, that'll be fine. It'll be kind of outside and probably in a tent and all of that sort of stuff. So I was kind of chill, and then we got there, and it was a house, and it was a house with every window closed. And a house with every window closed.
Because the temperature's really shifted, hasn't it?
Yeah,
it's cold now. It's cold the night after the temperature really.
Yeah, it's
autumn
cold.
Just had dumped itself on.
Exactly. It just arrived on our doorsteps and went, "Hello, it's raining. Hello, I'm cold." And so we went in, and I kept my mask on, and Bob kept her mask on, and there were, I guess, maybe across the space, maybe I didn't count because I almost immediately started to feel something going wrong with my body, but there was probably upwards of 50 people there with doors closed. I mean, it was a big house, but even so, doors closed, windows closed, heating on, and it started with I had full body sweats, so I mean it was teeming down my face, like the sweat was getting into my eyes, way more than I wasn't just warm. This was like I was immediately wet to my underpants. That it was the whole 9 yards. I was like, okay. So I tried to focus on my breathing. What was that
term that the anchor from the TV, that film with what was the
flop
particular
sweats.
Kind of sweat? What was it?
Flop sweats. It was.
Flop
I
sweats.
did. Yeah, I looked like Albert Finney in broadcast news, to give the reference. Do I mean Albert Finney? No, Albert Brooks.
It'll be in the show notes.
Albert
again.
Brooks, not Albert Finney. I tried to get my breathing under control, and so I was maybe 20 minutes just sitting and breathing, and I leaned over to Bob and I went, "Can you tell that I'm having a panic attack?" And she went, "Fuck yes."
Uh-huh.
It's really clear. And then
she would have known because she would have seen students having them, right?
Yeah. She knew because I had hold of her hand and I was squeezing so tight. And then I just started to babble to the person, because bearing in mind the people whose party it was hadn't arrived, because it was a surprise birthday party and everybody was there soon, and I just rushed out of the house, and of course rushed straight into them, so completely ruined the surprise. As it, just to compound the absolute horror of the whole thing, and I got into the car and I balled myself up in the well of the car underneath the steering wheel, and had a full meltdown. I've never experienced anything like it. I've travelled. I've been on aeroplanes with people. I've been on aeroplanes with people on either side of me. I've been in restaurants.
It's not like you've been out of it. It's not like you've been totally out of the loop.
No.
Like there's some people who haven't seen anyone basically since March 2020.
This is not me. I have been doing face-to-face contact teaching since September of last year. I've done induction this week, and not a single mask to be seen.
Yep.
But the difference, I think, for me was that I am in control of those spaces. I can open up the windows. I can tell people to back away from me. So, yeah, I've never experienced that, Simon. It was extraordinary.
At what point did you did you recognise that it was a panic attack? When I said, did you name it as such? You know, you would have think you were not feeling great, and at what point do you go, oh my God, I'm having a panic attack?
I think it was when I had to curl up into a ball.
In the car. You would have, because you have to drive. You had to drive as well.
I drove.
Bob can't drive, right?
No, I drove just far enough to be able to pull into a lay-by, and then I sat for about 45 minutes.
Oh. And how are you feeling now? So I'm confused about time.
It's probably about 8 or 9 hours since it happened.
Oh, so it was the afternoon on Saturday.
The afternoon. Yeah, it was the afternoon on Saturday.
I love that you ruined the surprise.
I know. I've written a very, very long letter which I'm about to put through their door because I just feel. I mean, I am so deeply full of shame on many levels. That's I know it's irrational. I know I didn't do it on purpose, but you know, it's that terribly British and I think terribly male thing about not making a show of yourself, and in an attempt to remove myself from a situation where I knew I was about to make a show of myself, I feel I made a show of myself.
I'm really resisting to start the next thing I say with this one time.
No, I want you to start this one time because all I could think of when it was just finished was I would give everything I own to swap places with Simon. I want nothing more than to be in a hotel room for 14 days and not have to look, speak, engage, interact with another human being. So please go. It reminds me of this one time. ...
I was scuba diving.
My God.
And it was in Cyprus on a wreck called the Zenobia, which, for people who know their maritime history, was a ferry that I guess did it founder or flounder? No, anyway, I don't know. It something went wrong, and it stuck in the bay there. Mm-hmm. It didn't hit anything, but something just went wrong with the boat, and then they no one died. They got everyone off. It just sank and tipped over on its side. It's in between 18 and 45. I'm going to say 45 meters of water. And if anyone's dived. Anything below, I should say, 20 meters, your first certificate will only get you to like 18 meters. So you have to have done some. It's not a beginning. It's not the kind of place you go when you're a beginner. And the thing about wrecks is that the first dive is you just dive around the outside of it, and then the second dive I think the second or maybe the third dive, I can't remember. You do this like an obstacle course. Now that you remember the things on its side, so. When you go in, your orientation it's really hard to orient yourself because everything's not quite the way it should be. And this is it's a little bit like, it's like everything's still there, right?
Okay.
Everything's still in this ship. It's not, it's incredibly preserved because, I think it went down in the mid-80s. I can't remember, it'll be in the show notes, but, and it was like a little bit like an obstacle course through the captain's quarters, and it was pretty amazing, sort of lowering down little shafts and then going in, but mostly quite light. Light meaning there was plenty of light.
Okay.
And the next dive, you entered a deck, which was it was one of the ferry decks, and so it's long.
So like where the cars are parked? Exactly.
Okay. Long, very long. I can't remember how many meters, but let's say 100 meters, but maybe it's very hard for me to remember. And then quite a wide space and quite not very high, but it's tipped on its side, if you understand what I mean. So going down, it's very deep. Going up, and then just side by side, it's not that. It's only, a ferry width, you might say. And the blackest and darkest black I've ever experienced in my life. Absolutely pitch black. Like if I held my hand by my eyes, I couldn't see it. You have good torches, and I remember when I went in going, this is mind-boggling. Like, I mean, I've used that word like 4 times in this. It was so surreal. And you've got trucks that are still in their chains above you, and then a freezer on its side full of bones, basically, by now. And so you go through, I mean, one thing about scuba diving is staying chilled is pretty important, because you're hyper aware of your breath, not least because of the sound it makes through the regs. You know, it's very much and as we're exiting, we went in through basically like a window, and then exited out the main deck at the stern of the ferry. And this little light appeared, and you get closer and closer to it. And then as so we're about 35 meters, and as I exited, this incredible blue expanse of ocean, or sea, I guess, appeared. And it was the most vertiginous experience I've ever had, and my heart started pounding. And I had an incredibly strong desire to take the regs out of my mouth.
Oh my God.
And my body basically, it fills me with dread thinking about it now. My body was basically saying, get the fuck out of here. So that was my first panic attack, was... I'm not trying to, piss on your panic attack story.
But I did mine 45 meters underwater. inside a capsized ferry. You just did it at a party, you big soft sack of shit.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
No, I know.
What next for you?
Yeah.
Like how now that it's there.
It's just something I haven't experienced. So what I did was I said I wanted to go to a supermarket. I wanted to go to a place where I knew it was a Saturday afternoon, where there would be lots of people not wearing masks, behaving in a way that would get me anxious, but also allow me to go, but I can walk out of this whenever I want to, just so I could sort of see if is this my new normal? Am I now
Did you do that? And you did that yesterday?
Well, it was all today. I know it's yesterday to you.
Sorry.
Yes, I did it yesterday from where you are, but I did it today from where I am. Oh, future boy, you're making my life so complicated.
Show title.
I did it immediately that we got back. After I'd
drove to the supermarket.
Yeah, I drove to the supermarket, got out and walked around the supermarket and
good on you. And so how was it in the supermarket?
Fine. It was absolutely fine because it was manageable, and I realise I'm coming to realise that the anxiety was exacerbated by social awkwardness.
Yeah. So that's a thing for you in general, is that right?
Yeah.
Do you think?
Yeah, it is. So some people just in fact my dad loves to go and meet new people. It's his favourite thing in the world. He just loves it. He likes to. He's that classic extrovert. He's energised by those sorts of moments.
Yeah.
And I think I'm probably an extroverted introvert where I can manage it.
'Cause you're quite. I always think of you as quite gregarious.
It's learned.
But do you think that's your That's your sort of mechanism for coping with that situation?
It's learned and it's performed, and I can do that in a professional context. I can do that at work. I can do it in conferences. I can do all of those sorts of things because it's my job. But I've never learned how to do it in pubs. I've never learned how to do it in parties. I've never learned how to be that version of me in a social setting. And today it was just like, wow.
Yeah. That was really with the volume turned way up on that sort of stuff.
Why do we do this in front of people again? Just remind me. Why do we?
We don't have to, you know, we can stop any time.
No, I don't want to. I think it's... I've had lots of people texting me about last week's conversation and
really?
Yeah, and and I haven't been sharing them with you because they're all pretty much saying the same thing. One is like, is Simon okay? And the other is like, that was just so generous of him to make that space for us.
I don't know the answer to your question though about the why. You know, we can exclude this from the conversation, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but
I don't know. It's the public-private thing. I find I have a certain amount of hostility. No, a certain amount of ambivalence about this private-public thing. You know, last week was very private in a way, and and so I was quite anxious about that for sure. And yet I also think that there's something about, firstly, talking to you for sure, but but we don't have to record those. But then there's something also about all the things we don't talk about as human beings, all the things that don't, because it seems to me that you're not talking about, you haven't talked about a unique experience here.
No.
You know, not for a second. Yes, for you, but these things happen, and we all have those things of which or by which we are ashamed of, or of which, to not talk about those. And I think particularly for men, curiously, it's also because I don't think I'm necessarily that good at it either, but I also like trying. Or like trying to get better at it.
What do you mean not good at it? Not good at what?
These are not, I don't necessarily find them easy things to discuss. You know, there's a certain amount of vulnerability. And so I'm not doing this for me, but I also like that I feel enriched by the effort, the attempt to articulate these things.